Hey, welcome back everyone. Rob here from Ram Studio Comics. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about trying to get a better pencil feel to your Apple Pencil and your Procreate setup. I guess this could apply to Clip Studio as well, but we're really going to focus on Procreate. I want to talk to you about some of the things that I've had to do to feel more comfortable to, draw things that look a little bit closer to actual pencils. This is still pretty rough, obviously Spawn and Chapel. But what I want to show you is that I do have certain workarounds that I tend to do. So for instance, one of the things would be if I was to go to the actual canvas. Let's see if we go to canvas information. I'm at a 3300 by 5100 pixel document. That basically translates to 11 by 17 at 300 DPI. So a lot of people will look at that and say, well, I don't get the lines I like and I need a 600 DPI document. Now, it's all fine and dandy, but what happens is as you increase these numeric values, your layers or potential layers are going to decrease. So you need to be aware of that. But I would say that this is adequate for what I would do for an actual comic page or cover or pinup or whatever, splash page. So for instance, let me make a copy of, where's Chapel here? Right here, I should really be naming these layers. I'll make a duplicate and I'll show you how I'd work through, just something like even the wrinkles here. So at first I throw in these like crisscross, zigzags, lightning bolts, just as a kind of stylized basis of the way I kind of do wrinkles for something like this. And then I soft erase it with a big airbrush. I'll show you the settings for that as well, just so you can see where it's at. It's just a big airbrush, oversized. I'm using full opacity, but I'm pressing very light. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll soft erase it down. I'll leave just enough where I can see what I had before in the previous step. I'll rotate to something comfortable. And then I will start to draw, not with a paintbrush. I did the painting there a second ago, sketching, or the shadows in paintwork. So that's my my pencil brush, and I could share that. It's available on my Gumroad. It's nothing special, but it is modified to the way that I like to use it. But I will play around with the opacity a bit sometimes. Definitely play around with the size slider as I go, and zooming in and out. That's all of this kind of pertains to this. Is but if you zoom in like this, and you're saying, well, I get a fuzzy edge to that. You're just in way too close. You have to think of it in terms of, this is like a sheet of paper, right? And this is 11 by 17, which is obviously a lot larger, but you got to remember how big this might be in comparison. It might even help you to use the template so that you know that, hey, this is a couple inches, and it's going to get reduced down to roughly that size. Okay, so you might even want to turn your screen, but what I'm getting at is if you're going to zoom in like this, that's probably the max distance that you want to go in. You got to be really aware of your zoom, so that's part of it. So I try not to go in there too far. Also, it just really helps you to work from a distance for as long as possible. I think that you overall can gauge the type of work that you're creating better because you're seeing it in its entirety. And again, you don't zoom up too tight and overdevelop something that you're just not going to potentially see. So what I'll do here is just kind of grab some of the shadow areas that I'm looking at, try to figure out these patterns. Maybe replace some of this with just a couple lines and a line break. So I like to do like a shadow, line break, shadow, line break, whatever. It's just, this is all style. But what I like to do here is just kind of imply these folds. And if you zoom back and it looks okay, and you can kind of perceive it, what it might look like with some color or whatever, then that's good. I don't need it to look too realistic, but whatever style you have, that's what you go for. But you just kind of build up on this. But if I zoom up real tight, I'm getting a pretty good line there, and the line's not perfect anyways. This is a bit of a sketch brush. So the line's kind of bumpy anyways. But again, I don't think you need to tighten up too much. I think some people get in there way too much, and ultimately they're fighting themselves for what they should be after. You want to oversimplification of a lot of this information. That's what's going to speed you up. That's what's going to help you develop style and basically not stress out about the process as much. You got to figure if you're trying to make it look as realistic as maybe you're looking at life drawing or you're looking at real life studies, then you're probably going to kind of stretch yourself out a bit. You don't need it to look perfect. It needs to be fun and stylized and all that. But now back to the penciling, because I really don't want to get too much into why I'm drawing a certain thing the way that I am. But I think it ties in, right? Like if I'm explaining how the pencil works, I kind of need to explain my thought process as I use it. So the difference that I notice on paper is that I have more grab, right? More friction. So this does have a screen protector. It's a Tech Armor anti-glare. I've mentioned in other videos. That's the one I prefer. I've used others. I tried a paper-like version. I don't think it was the paper-like, but it's a knockoff or whatever that was on Amazon. And I liked it at first because it had so much grip, but then the grip got really annoying really quickly. So then I went right back to the Tech Armor that I like. I feel like this already has a little too much slide, or this particular one has a little too much slide. So it would be nice if there was a happy medium between those, but I prefer a little bit more slide versus too much grip. The grip was so noticeable and I felt like it would start wearing down the tips. So you have to decide that for yourself. But I will tell you that there's certain workarounds. I don't feel the need to do it here. You see, I'm just kind of sculpting my curves. Okay, so by sculpting, I just mean I'm feathering that, reshaping that line as I go. I'm pretty good at that. I used to do that, or I still do that traditionally, but I got used to doing that traditionally. I never really, I'll throw lines occasionally, like, one quick pull or whatever, but I'm pretty good at, again, sculpting that line and getting it to go where I need, even with this little bit of slide. Now, I do tend to notice that it's better if the screen is flat on the table in front of me, not with this has a kickstand on it. This, I can't remember the brand, but it's basically a stand on the back of this holder, this protective case. Anyways, I couldn't say that for some reason. But, all that aside, I like it flat. I like it right in front of me. I try not to move it around too much. Sometimes I'll even tape it. I kind of roll a piece of tape, stick it to the back. I'll tape it so it's stationary. I don't really need that all the time. Sometimes it's kind of beneficial. But again, you don't have to worry about rotating this because you can just rotate like this really quickly. Now, the other thing that I don't think gets talked about enough with these is how you clean your screen and how much you clean your screen. So for instance, I use a microfiber, and sometimes just if you want a real mild cleaner, just mix up a couple drops of Dawn dish soap and some warm water and use very little bit, and that'll degrease this thing for you, right? Now I'll be honest, I use Pledge multi-surface. You probably shouldn't. It's probably got more chemicals that you got to watch out for, but I've never had any problems with it. And what I tend to do is clean that pretty good so that, again, that reduces my slide. The oils from your hands are going to transfer here. You're going to see it. It's going to look all smudged up and everything. And you're going to slide more with your pencil. Okay, it's just the way it is. So keep that in mind, that even keeping the surface clean and degreased basically from the oils of your hands will help you to control a bit of that slide. So the anti-glare, the cleaning it properly, and then also you've got the tools in front of you. Obviously the way that this works. So for instance, if I can't get this nice little curve right here, let me show you with a different color. Right, so I can't, for some reason, I can't sculpt this line here like that, or I can't draw it like this. Okay, you got to remember that this software has some really great curve techniques. So one of them is this: you kind of draw through here and hold. And now I can pull this curved line wherever I want, right? So I can drop it, I can extend it, I can condense it down, and I can let it go. See how we've got edit shape right up there? I can click that, and now I get these little handles, and I can edit that curve even further. Okay, so that right there is really effective. Okay, so I don't use it on a lot of things. Again, I've developed a pretty good sense of control on this device from using it for so many years, because that is the main thing. The longer you use it, the more you're going to get used to the slide. It's not going to bother you as much, but that helps a lot, and that's something you can draw out circles and hold it, get an oval, hit edit shape, go to a circle. You can still grab the control points, maneuver it around. I mean, just very, very effective. multiple undos, obviously. But again, I just want you to know that over time, you're going to get to a point where you don't need that as much. Okay, you're just going to get used to drawing on this. It is annoying when the slide is more noticeable, and what I mean by that is there are definitely times when I go to draw and the slide irks me more. Maybe I'm a little sensitive that day, maybe I didn't have enough coffee. I don't know what the deal is. I'm just not the same person every single day maybe, but sometimes it's more noticeable and frustrating, and then I want to draw on paper. I'm just like that. I'm kooky like that, I guess. And then I will draw on paper, and then sometimes I'll come back and I'm warmed up, and then I draw on this, and all of a sudden I'm feeling the ebb and flow on this, and I'm having a grand old time. I think that what it is really is how energized and ready you are to create. Because when you're really into you got this great idea and you're excited about it, I think that no matter what you draw on, it tends to come out better. But then there's those other times you're fighting a little bit more of an uphill battle to get excited about drawing. In which case, other things that are not going your way might affect you more, or you'll basically look for the problems, right? You go, why isn't this working? Oh, it's the device. Oh, it's the resolution. Oh, it's all these number of things. Now let me show you the difference too. Let's take this and let's just generate. Like I said, I think this is adequate for the size. So for instance, the thing that I would be most worried about the detail is Chapel's face. So as I soft erase and redraw this, and this is pretty close to the way I'd finish it. I mean, I still got some scratchy lines in here, but I don't need a whole lot of detail. I mean, if you think of size relationship, it's a really small face on this 11 by 17 scale, which would be an 11 by 17. Well, here I can even show you an 11 by 17 in comparison. So I'm kind of silly. Sometimes I'll draw things a couple times. So here's a traditional art version, just so you see the difference. I started drawing it on paper, then I wanted to draw it digitally because I wanted a video of it. So yeah, sometimes I do things twice. But anyways, this is, you see how much bigger that is than what I'm working on here. But I can zoom up here. Okay, so if I zoom up here, there's the digital version. There's the traditional. You guys can tell me if you like one better than the other, I guess. But again, I'm not... that's the max size that I could draw it on 11 by 17 right there, right? So what is that? About this size. Well, then I don't need to zoom up any further than right there. And again, I think it's helpful to be aware of that. I don't think you necessarily need to draw things twice. I think that was a bit silly on my part, but sometimes I do it. And sometimes I learn in that process as well. I do want to be able to do what I do digitally, traditionally, and vice versa. So that's oftentimes I'll challenge myself to do stuff like that. And the funny thing is, it might seem like a big waste of time, but once you draw something once, the next version comes out really fast. I always tend to notice that. And I actually transferred this from that original. That's why the spawn face is so it's the same one. But yeah, so again, let me do one more demonstration here for you. So I'm going to take this area right here, and I'll just draw another little face off to the side real quick. So if I was going to draw a face, I do something like this. Maybe there's another character over here, right? And so the cheekbone, nose, mouth, kind of weird looking eye. I always do this weird pointed eye first, and then I kind of sculpt it and fix it. It doesn't look like a real eye at that point. But, something like this, right? So I'll zoom up a little more so you can see it. And it's a little fuzzy. I can see that difference there. But by the time I soft erase and redraw this, let me put it this way. One of the things is, if it's smaller, I don't need as much line work to render this anyways. In fact, I should start thinking about rendering this with shadows. So for instance, I'm going to get this in like this. Render a little pocket of shadow under the eye. I'm going to connect all this together with a few shadows. Again, that's another way to think about this, more simplistic, and maybe where you don't sit there and look at these tiny little lines and go, oh, I don't have the resolution I need. Because again, you got to think of reduction of size. So when people work on 11 by 17 pages, they simplify and bring things together with shadows, with less tiny little lines that are going to get lost anyways from reduction. So you just got to think about things like this. So I could probably do something like that. and it's good. I don't need those tiny little lines to make that half a face or whatever. But so if I was to adjust this now, let's take this and go, okay, crop and resize. Let's just make it another half a size larger. So we'll take 3300 and we'll put resample canvas. Let's see, if we took 1600 and added that, it would be 33, 43, 49. We'll say 5000 on this direction. It'll scale up the other size for us, and that's too large. Let's go to 4500. 13 layers available. Okay, so that gives us 4500 pixels by 6955, which is obviously a good deal larger. So, and you see it reduced our layers by quite a bit, which isn't a big deal when I'm drawing, because for me, I don't need a lot of layers to draw, and a lot of times after I'm confident in a certain area, I can condense those down and conserve them. So what I want to show you is if I was to draw this face again with a much larger, let's check it on the other end as well, canvas information. So now it's showing 15 by 23 at 300 dpi. Okay, so that's still, I mean, that's a really large document. It's not quite 11 by 17 at 600, I would say, but you're not going to need that. Again, the smallest thing you're probably going to need the detail for is something like a face. And I'm just going to recreate what I did there a little bit. Yeah, and I'll tell you, even now, I feel like that's too much information. Like, you can feel a difference from the way the line generates, okay? So if you feel like you have to press harder or kind of repetitively in an area, I feel like that means that there's too much data that it's trying to incorporate per square inch, right? It's DPI, dots per inch. So what I'm getting at is sometimes you don't need all that data. You need to simplify the line work and think of things in terms of shapes, not as tiny little lines. Now, obviously, if your style is different than that, then you're going to feel a little bit differently about that. But I really feel like I don't need this much resolution to do this piece, and this is a standard 11 by 17 type of piece of artwork that I would go for. And plus, I know from using it, I've done plenty of pieces at 11 by 17 at 300. So just be aware of that, because I've had multiple people say, I can't get the resolution I want. I can't get the tight lines that I want at working 11 by 17 at 300 dpi. And that's, there's nothing else I can really convey there, because that's what I'm seeing, and I'm experiencing something that is usable. Now, there's no other factors that I can think about inside the app itself to control it. Now, obviously, you have the pressure curve, and I'll show you that. And I am constantly playing with that, but a lot of times I will revert back to something like this because I'll adjust it, and it'll be good for painting, but then it'll be bad for inking, or it'll be good for inking, but bad for drawing. So this is the one that works pretty cross-platform for the way that I draw. I do feel that I have to be a little bit lighter handed, less pressure when I draw this way. And that's just really it. Like, I have to compensate the way that I draw. If I draw heavier on paper, so I have to let my hand glide a little bit. And, you can even go right down to exercises, right? If you really want to get this stuff down and you really want to draw digitally, then maybe you do some of these exercises here, okay? You practice. Say, well, why is it so hard for me to get these curves and these lines that I like? And you just do lots and lots of repetition, and we're amazing, right? Humans are pretty amazing. So you practice enough, you will get a sense and a feel for it, and you'll be able to draw the way that you want. Now, the other thing is, like, well, why would you do that? Why fight it? Why fight an uphill battle when it's just easier to draw on paper, right? For me, the reason I keep going back to this is there's certain things that I can just change. Nothing worse than getting all this work on paper, and then I go to change things and I can't change it as well, and I got to want to start over. So that's an issue for me. It shouldn't be. That's comes with building more confidence and not worrying so much about that. Being able to make changes without wasting a bunch of time is a big part of being a professional artist. But then the other end of it is this. I make videos. So for me, this gives me a video. When I'm done with this piece, I get a time-lapse video. So again, just certain things that pull you back to the digital side of things. This being portable, I can take this with me a lot easier than I can take my big, this is my smallest bin of art supplies. This is like my bare essentials, right? So I got to lug that around, and then I got this bigger bin full of even more just great, cool art supply. But anyway, so for me, the portability aspect is also very nice. So again, those are some of the things I think about and how I deal with it. Again, I use a Tech Armor anti-glare screen protector. I clean it. Sounds simple or sounds stupid to say it, but it's the truth. It does make a difference. Degrease it before you start drawing it because you're going to slide more. I felt a big difference right after I cleaned it today. And then also, changing the way that you draw a little bit, utilizing the fact that this will make these cool shapes for you that you can hold and rotate and edit with this button up there. That's fantastic. Soft erasing and redrawing, that's obviously the same as traditional art, but you want to allow yourself to, pick apart these shapes. And then remember, simplify your shapes. Simplify. Try not to think in terms of drawing lines so much, and think of terms of drawing or shading forms. And generally, you start to simplify things with that process, and that's really what you want. 11 by 17 at 300 DPI is plenty for me, so I would assume it would be plenty for you. But let me know what you think in the comments section below, what you tend to do, what gives you a better quality for your drawings. And remember, you can get my brushes there if you want, the technical pencil as well as other inking brushes for free on my my Gumroad. You can donate, you don't have to, but it's there for a free download if you want it. I'll make sure there's a link in the description box below. Thanks very much for tuning in with me. I'm going to get back to drawing this. Follow me on social media and I'll show the artwork when it's done. As always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.